Democratic leadership has been expressing thoughts and prayers for Donald Trump and his administration following his juvenile meltdown in what was supposed to be an infrastructure meeting yesterday. Here's Nancy Pelosi.
I truly believe that the president has a bag of tricks and the White House has a bag of tricks that they save for certain occasions. They don't necessarily apply to the occasion, but they're a distraction, which is his master of distraction. We will all agree on that. That's something he does well, to distract from problems that he has. He tries to change the subject. And while he tried to say it's because I said cover up, we've been saying cover up for a while. And our 9 o'clock meeting was a meeting we have anyway, so it had nothing to do with him. But I think what really got to him was these court cases and the fact that the House Democratic Caucus is not on a path to impeachment. And that's where he wants us to be.
Okay, can I jump in for a second, Anna?
Sure.
Yeah, so look, yesterday I gave her a lot of credit and saying she really played Trump well, and she did. She got under his skin in just the right way. And so here, I think that I don't agree that it was a strategy by Trump to do a distraction. I'll get to why in a second. But she was doing fine. She's still goading him. I still like it. We don't have a bias against anybody. If you're doing great stuff, great. You're getting under Trump's skin. Love it. Keep going, right? But when she turned and said, "Oh, he doesn't want us to do impeachment, and that's why he was upset because we're not doing impeachment." No, that's totally made up. That's for Nancy Pelosi's agenda, has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And every indication is that Donald Trump does not want to be impeached. And so this idea that Trump is mad that he's not being impeached, it's preposterous.
I mean, look, I think you're right, but there's also a little bit of a twist because I mean, Republicans are absolutely convinced and Democratic leadership is absolutely convinced that pursuing impeachment would be political suicide for Democrats. Now, we disagree with that perspective. We think that impeachment makes sense. And let me be clear, there's a possibility that it could hurt Democrats politically. I don't know for sure, but what I do know is that what's more important for me and what's more important for the country is that you ensure that the president and the executive branch doesn't get to be above the law, right? So you set a harmful precedent by not pursuing impeachment if the Trump administration is brazenly breaking the rules, breaking the law. You get the picture. But anyway, I mean, who knows? It could be possible that the Trump administration is hoping that they pursue impeachment because it could harm them politically.
No way, no way, no way, no way. So in the court hearings in New York regarding Deutsche Bank and his records from there, Trump lost that hearing. Nancy Pelosi also mentioned that, and she said that's what's driving him crazy. She's totally right about that. And inside the courtroom, apparently freelance reporters said that there was talk of connecting the Trump and Kushner money to the Russian money laundering that Deutsche Bank did. Okay, so that's what's having him go ballistic. And if you go towards impeachment, more of that stuff is likely to come out. There's the one thing Donald Trump doesn't want under any and all circumstances is for that financial information to come out. So impeachment would make that more likely, not less likely. So Trump, the idea that Trump is sitting there, oh man, I hope they impeach me, and then maybe all my financial records will be all over television. That'll be great.
Well, remember,
you must be crazy to think that.
Well, remember, at this point, in 2 separate cases, federal judges have ruled that Deutsche Bank absolutely must comply with the congressional subpoena to release those financial records. So we're gonna see those financial records anyway. But nonetheless, I wanna go to the next video because that might change your mind a little bit on how Pelosi is playing this. Let's take a look.
The president again stormed out. I think, what? First, pound the table, walk out the door. What? Next time, have the TV cameras in there while I have my say. That didn't work for him either. And now this time, another temper tantrum. Again, I pray for the President of the United States. I wish that his family or his administration or his staff would have an intervention for the good of the country.
So every time Pelosi says, I pray for the President of the United States, heads explode, right? In the Trump administration, Donald Trump doesn't like it, his sons don't like it, and Trump tweeted, quote, "Nancy, thank you so much for your prayers. I know you truly mean it."
Totally getting it under his skin. And on that, Pelosi, wonderful job, wonderful job. Every time we had this discussion yesterday, I was.
You were right. You were right. You were right. Yes.
Okay. When she says I pray for the president, that is wonderfully demeaning and patronizing. Okay.
You're right.
And I'm going to add one other thing she did that was great. So look, anyone who calls us biased is nuts. We just judge the actions and the policies on their own. So under their theory, we don't like Pelosi. Why? I don't know. What did she? She never kicked my cat, right? So here she did something else great.
Has she kicked someone's cat?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying it's not personal. The things I don't like is because when she does the wrong things, not because I don't like her. So Trump leaves, and then Pelosi does a mini speech. This is inside what was supposed to be the get together to talk about infrastructure. And then Kellyanne Conway said that.
I have that.
Oh, you have it?
Stop
Oh, okay. Sorry, I love it. I just get so excited about it. And then I'm going to go back to something that Pelosi said that I didn't agree with. Go ahead.
All right, so let's skip ahead a little bit and go to what Cenk was referencing because I enjoyed that as well. So let's go to graphic 6. Conway asked Pelosi whether she had a response for the president. Pelosi replied that she would reply to the president, not staff.
No, that's the part I love.
Yeah.
Like Conway's trying to engage her, and Pelosi's like, I don't talk to staff.
Oh, but it gets better. It gets better. As people got up to leave, Conway said to Pelosi, "That's really pro-woman of you." Oh, I love it. More of that. It's so good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But like, Nancy Pelosi's not pro-women enough. Nancy Pelosi's a lot of things, but say she's not pro-women enough because she didn't
want to talk to you.
She didn't want to talk to a Trump underling. Okay, minion is not good evidence of Pelosi not being pro-women. Please, Kellyanne, get yourself elected president, and then she'll have a conversation with you.
Now, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy responded to Pelosi's press conference by having a press conference of his own, and here's what he has to say as Donald Trump's lackey.
If we're serious about solving problems, I think the actions of the speaker were irresponsible. You've had on scheduled for a number of weeks to have a follow-up meeting with the president, to talk about infrastructure, to actually come to a solution. But what do you do right before the meeting? You schedule a special conference of the majority to talk about impeachment. You walk out to the microphones before and you claim the president is covering something up. And that same day, the speaker questioned all Republicans' oath to the Constitution. This is irresponsible. This is not a way to govern.
Here's what's irresponsible. There was one person who had a temper tantrum and ran out of that room when there needed to be an incredibly important discussion about infrastructure. Instead of being a leader, instead of being strong, Donald Trump decided to allow someone to get under his skin and he stormed out of that room. And then he had a press conference where he had ill-prepared notes that were misspelled, by the way. And that's a new story, right? He's misspelled accomplishments, but whatever. That is the irresponsible behavior. The person who on a regular basis, it's become the norm now, and it shouldn't be the norm. He cannot contain himself, he cannot compose himself, he cannot control his own emotions. And that is not healthy for someone who's supposed to lead the country.
So what Kevin McCarthy left out of there as context is of course very important, which is that they had to have that meeting about whether to pursue impeachment or not, because there was a rebellion within Democratic ranks saying, why won't Pelosi impeach? This is crazy, let's go, we gotta do impeachment. And that meeting was for Nancy Pelosi to quell that rebellion one more time. So the meeting was actually Pelosi being pro-Trump. She went to the meeting and said, I don't want to impeach Trump, and so stop it. So afterwards, as a compromise, she came out and said in the presser, look, we're not pursuing impeachment, but the president's obviously doing a cover-up. which is clear to everyone, right? He said in his own press conference after the meeting, Trump said that he was the most transparent president in American history. Hilarious. He's blocking literally 20 different investigations right now. They're requesting simple records, some about Trump and some about just regular government work. And he's blocking every congressional request. He's the least transparent president in history. And Nancy Pelosi up until now has largely been protecting him. And it was, as one of our viewers wrote in a tweet in the middle of the show, it wasn't the resistance anymore, it was the assistance.
Yes.
So over the last day and a half, she's done a decent job of getting under his skin. I'm trying to compliment her for that. But McCarthy's total nonsense about how Pelosi is the one who's causing all this. Of course it's Trump. And in fact, I want to come back to one thing I didn't agree with on Pelosi. She said that Trump is master of distraction and he's trying to distract us from the infrastructure bill because he's not prepared. No, not remotely buying it. So number one, Trump is never prepared. That's never stopped him before. Remember, he said he went into negotiations with North Korea. He said he didn't need to know anything about North Korea because he would know within 1 second of walking into the room if they were going to have a deal.
He specifically said he didn't need to prepare because of his touch, his feel. And
then later declared his love for Kim Jong-un. This is all true. Now, so when you look into the details, it turns out, well, there's no good way of saying this other than I was right. So yesterday I said, no, the guy never has a strategy, never, ever, ever. So one thing that led people to believe that he might have planned the walkout as a distraction, etc., was that he already had a sign prepared when he went to the Rose Garden about no obstruction, no collusion. It turns out the White House said, no, we had this sign prepared for weeks for another reason, and then we brought it out here for the Rose Garden. And now staffers, this is not a good leak in favor of Donald Trump, have leaked. Yeah, no, when he heard Pelosi saying that it was a cover-up, he was, quote, livid. So, and you can see it in his tweets. Every tweet in the morning, he's like, ah! The guy doesn't have any strategy. He heard cover-up. He walked into a meeting he was supposed to have. He said, I can't believe this. He said something mean about me. I'm gonna take my ball and go home. That's all he ever does is cry. That's not a strategy.
Okay, I have to ask a question though. So look, we talked about this yesterday. We believe that Pelosi had her strategy of doing that press conference, saying that Trump has a cover up right before she's about to have a meeting with Trump, knowing that Trump is gonna have a temper tantrum, and he did, he fell into that trap. But we also know that Trump was preparing that Rose Garden press conference. Right? We know that he had that sign ready.
No, I'm saying now it turns out he was not necessarily prepared.
Not. Okay.
And in fact, the sign was ready weeks beforehand, and they brought it out for this instance. And then on top of that, one last data point on that, so you know who's right and who's wrong in terms of Pelosi, et cetera, is that they called a press conference right before the meeting, and before the Pelosi-Trump meeting. And remember, Trump was 15 minutes late to the meeting. And he has all those handwritten notes with all the misspellings, et cetera. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders, right before going to the meeting, said, hey, press, we're gonna have a press conference at 11:20, okay? And so it appears that all of that stuff was done on the spot because the president was mad.
Yeah, okay, so that makes a lot more sense. And maybe that is a good excuse for how accomplishments was spelled. It was spelled ACHOMLISHMENTS.
Oh, no, that's, no, accomplishments, that's a different word. It's that accomplishments is in the
best words.
It's in the dictionary right next to covfefe. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.